Welcome to the very long overdue Rabbitry tour. I'm going to be specifically doing my 2023 winter setup. Now, we've had a rough winter already and we're like 6 days into the new year. So I'm assuming March, when the second wave comes, it will be a different setup again. That's more my spring setup. So I'm going to start with the exterior and work my ways around because I think right now one of my does is actively in labor. But also, I've tried to film this hundreds of times in the past over the last 2 years, and there's always some reason I shouldn't. So we're going to start right off the bat. I have everything fenced in nicely, just to keep the larger things like the horses out, and we do have a full property fence going around all of our acreage, just to keep the larger things out. Of course, things like the mountain lion really don't care. One of the things I love the most is I don't have a water source. So we have I think this is a 60-gallon... No, it's more than that. It's, I think, 40 to 70. I'm leaning towards 40, but I'm pretty sure it was more than 60. Point being, this is a food-grade water barrel, and we just put a hose spigot on it. And I have a can, and there's a hole drilled in the bottom. So that black is the glove that my sister wraps around her arm when carrying her wrecks around, because they are very heavy. And in this little can are some of the most important things you can have in your Rabbitry. I have my rag. In the blue bottle we have liquid soap, and in the little cap right here we have dish soap, and then that's my apple cider vinegar that goes in the water. A lot of people ask why I do it. It helps fertility, coat, condition, GI, basically balances all the bacteria in the body. And then I have a little scrub daddy tucked away, and that's because I clean resting mats out here. On my focus is just terrible, I am so sorry. On my little table here, on the back of this hutch is where I store all of my should not be in the rain sort of stuff. And then, of course, how I clean cages is I empty everything into this, and that goes in here. This is where the herb garden is being set up, basically, for winter. I throw in all the good compost, all the dark black soil goes in here, and then we let it sit separate from the hot compost, which technically rabbit droppings isn't hot. But we're going to work our way around. And I'm actually I have trenches dug right now for the weather, flooding, and all that stuff. This is where I tattoo. When I tattoo outside, I do a chair. I prefer having a chair deeply over others. These are emergency cages. I'm going to try and take a step back. I have the worst lens. It's constantly focusing. So I have emergency cages lining around my barn. These were used during the Caldor fire when I pulled in half of Joan's Rabbitry's stuff in, and I have to say I am so glad I have these. They're great for if you want a table breed, but the cages aren't big enough. So each capsule is 24 by 24 by 24, and then up top these two are 1. So you can use them when you have really, really large litters, or you have a doe that gives birth on the wire. The top is hard floor, so she can't give birth on the wire. It's also great for quarantining because nobody's out here. We turn here and I have these massive, I think these cages are 32 by 24 or 32 or 36 by 32. One of the two. These are my weaning cages. So when babies are weaned and tattooed and they're set out and they're not grots, these are the cages they go in. And I love this. For instance, these two aren't even litter mates, but they have each other until they get picked up at show tomorrow. So it gives a nice little place for them to indulge in themselves and have some fun. They have a lot of room to play around, and here's where the wrecks are kept. And then here's, of course, the doe cages for the wrecks, which the wrecks project is kind of on a hold for now. And then this is a massive 8-hole stacker, 18 by 24 cages. You'll see there is one little loner out here. She is currently in quarantine out here because she contracted something that seems like pneumonia that was based off of a contagious thing when the weather suddenly dropped. And this is what I mean by winterized, is this wall was not here until the winter came. I put up this wall, and if you haven't noticed, we have a massive awning that goes all the way around the barn, and this thing is a lifesaver. Thank you, Dad. But usually when there's not a sick little rabbit hiding in her ailments, this is the Jones Brothers stacker where they store things that they want to be bred, or I want to breed to my rabbits and vice versa. So this is kind of our sharing grounds. And now we're actually going to go in to the barn, and we have bricks. We're laying down bricks right now to help with the mud. So right off the bat, everything is alphabetically organized and tagged, which I'm going to get closer. Every single cage here, if you just focus, every single cage here has an alphabet number. Wow, I am so dyslexic. Has a letter. I've never called a letter an alphabet number before in my life. A cage tag, and a magnet, and then bottles, except for one doe here gets a crock because she's special and she hates bottles. But so these are my 3 main bucks. We have Braun, we have Pax, and we have Charles. And you will be thinking, where's Frost? We'll get to him eventually. This is also my wall of mischief. We're not going to talk about the electrical wiring in this barn whatsoever, but these are the things I grab right off the bat. You have the broom that I live off of, all the switches for the electricals, which you will not be seeing how it's wired because there's a whole nother thing on the ceiling. I have basic supplies: hammer, mallet, shovel, gardening shovel, gloves, screwdriver, scissors, dustpan, and sweeper. And then this turning, you will see this cage. Everything, oh, it's strange size. Yes, it's deep. Its depth is 18, and each cage is 18 by 24, so it's 4 feet across. I had to have it custom made by Randall because nobody makes cages. Oh, look at her, so cute. That is that long with such a depth, such a shallow depth. But I really prefer it because I like to be able to reach in. These are only grow-outs. This cage is empty right now. But everybody else is a grow-out because I limit how many young'ums I have. And since they're a junior, they get marked with that they're a junior when they're a senior. And she has hit 2 pounds, so she has a little green star. So I know I can take her to shows and stuff like that. She hasn't, so she doesn't have a green star. But, you know, it has, again, she's a junior, her date, she's a senior. And then we're going to walk over here. You will see that these cages are significantly larger. These are my 18 by 32 cages. And this is the first set of brood doe cages I have. Every single brood doe has a sticky note on their cage of when they were last bred, when the kits are pulled off. In this case, she was bred, palpated, pregnant, so it has when the nest box goes in, when she's due, who the sire is, all that stuff. And then when they kindle, they get a little sticky note like this. She kindled this morning. I'm just going to let my camera adjust. So again, sire, date of birth, how many, the wean date, which is also when they get tattooed and set up for to be reserved, and when I do all the pedigrees and all the fun paperwork. And again, this is where the magnets come in super helpful. And then if a doe is fostering, the actual litter goes on the front, and the side is where the foster sticky note goes on. Because usually there's a day or 2 gap, and I don't like mixing that up too much. I really like to be super clear on where all of that goes, and you might be thinking, how on earth do I keep track? This is the thing that runs my Rabbitry, this ancient whiteboard. I've had this probably, it was in my dad's office before I was born, and they were going to throw it, and I was like, oh no, I can use that. I can use that, gosh dang it. So it has the wall calendar, which has everything on it, and then this right here has every single breeding information, and then this thing saves my life because I can't do calendar math. The 31-day gestation, you might be noticing this is also my awards wall that has everything I have done all the way up. But then these are my 18 deep cages. So here's my 18 by 32s, and these are for mamas that tend to have more babies. Both these girls are fostering like absolute champs. She just had her babies, but these are the does that tend to have larger litters. And does that get sick and tired of their babies go on this side because I have these little shelves up here that are absolutely fabulous. You might also be noticing my walls are lined with plastic, and then as you go down, I have it lined with corrugated metal. The metal goes higher on this wall because this is where my posing table is, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. And then this is for smaller litters, does that are bred. Here's Frost because he's gross and needs to be removed from the others. And I have a lot of empty holes, so these are all empty. For instance, she's pregnant, but she usually only has 2. She had 2, and they fit lovely in this cage. She also has anxiety when the box is really far away. She gets very uneasy. So having a smaller cage is really great. She gets her babies fostered every single time. If you know who this is, it's Toffee, and she's terrible. So, and then this is where I lose my absolute mind, is my feeding station. So I have these upright bins. They're called vaults, basically. And I freaking love them. So we have our hay, we have our Hull and Lop feed, and then our Rex feed. Shavings, this is a bucket that we use when we feed hay. We fill up the hay in the bucket and run our rounds. Paper towels must, all the magazines in the back. This is my feed bucket. This is her feed bucket for the Rex. Conditioner mix, clipboard, lifelong thing. Live off of that thing. Top drawer pedigrees. My stuff, her pedigrees. electrical cables because she doesn't really have stuff yet. And then we go out here and I put this window in for ventilation. Absolutely love it. And this whiteboard is again kind of a control area, but not for pregnancies and Kindles, but rather once like the grow outs, when I weigh them, who's reserved, who's going where, tattooing, showing what to do pretty much, and all this fun stuff. So that's all on this whiteboard. And then you might notice that there's also a ladder, but before we touch on that, I forgot about the posing table, not gonna lie. So this is basically a bench I stole from our garage a few years ago. I got scale, and up top in the scale I store my sticky notes and my Sharpie for labeling all these cages. This is a jug of water we use because she takes a crock. This girl right down here takes a crock. Nail clippers, fly swats, all my crocks, resting mats. That is my YQ, medical box and tattooing supplies, my brush. And then this is all of my quick grab medical supplies. You'll see a pair of gloves, sticky notes. What is that? I have rubbing alcohol, Vaseline, a cone, all the things I need to do in case I gotta grab something and go. And then we're going to go and look this way. This is my apron hanging on the ladder. Here's my barn cat. The most essential part of any barn is the cat. And he actually lives up here. So we're going to go over, also real quick, fan on every single corner, fan. This is where all the electricals get really, really messy. We have a ventilation system up here, AC for the summer. And then we go up here, I have an extra bag of pellets. And then we have all of the feeders, the boxes, the emergency stuff. This is more emergency stuff. All my show carriers. It's a bit of a mess right now because the cat pushes things around. This is also where I keep my cleaning supplies, like my scrub daddy. But this is where we keep the cat. So the cat is very large and likes to nudge things around. So most everything, like even my ring light, hangs. So if he nudges it, it just kind of wobbles back in place. But so you can kind of get a good look at how everything is from up here. I do really try to keep my barn clean. It really helps with just general, unless these guys are so freaking cute. But yeah, that's pretty much a lot of it in a nutshell. I personally really, I'm going to go outside. I really adore how this has gone. It is the most productive space I have, and it's so highly functional because I don't give a flying hoot. Like my wastebasket is a bucket so I can put wet things in, and honestly I love, like, this whole setup is lovely. It's compact. Again, this is a 10 by 10 with a 40% loft, and it holds, I think this right now is 21 cages. We have put an extra stacker right next to these, so that could be 24. And then counting all of this, which we will be putting more stackers back here. We're actually going to be moving that back and then putting this cage over there and rounding the whole thing out. We're probably going to get an extra 20 holes, and it's this tiny little plot of land. And honestly, I love it so much. It's so highly functional. It's so organized. And I'm a firm believer that if you want to do something in a tiny space, you will figure out how to. So yeah, that's the whole Rabbitry tour, really. If you have any questions, I will gladly answer them. I will also be linking stuff like Randall's Ranch contact info for cages like these. And then, of course, the pet feeders, which are these, and these hold a 50-pound bag of pellets. Barely. Just you'll be pouring it for the first time, you're like, there is no way, and then it does. A few other things that I really don't have up right now is there's hooks lining all the beams so that we can hang fly control, and I have a heat lamp, not using it currently because it's pretty decently warm. General tips being, nursing moms get Crocs for this situation right here, and really keep your bucks far away from anything gross. This barn is also rat proof because of the metal lining, especially. I'm super happy the plastic does end here, but the metal does not. I put metal around the whole thing, so nothing can get in, and if it does, it's going to have a mighty hard time getting in. It's just going to get through layer 1. So yeah, this little goofball is wanting attention. But that's pretty much it. I freaking adore this place. There's also little hooks and stuff all over the place for fans. We'll get to that when we get to the spring and summer setup. I think the main things that are going to change with the spring setup is the outdoors. We're going to have a lot more outdoor space, which if you haven't caught on, most of these holes are empty. I keep a lot of empty holes, and I highly recommend you do, because when I have illness come in, I like to be able to separate out into the middle of nowhere and still be confident that the rabbit will be okay and secure, and I have enough feeders. If there's an emergency, I like the ability that I can take in a rabbitry of 15 or more safely and securely and not have to kill myself over it. It just boosts your confidence in what you're doing so much more when you have room. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I will be doing this pretty short because I am going to this bunny bash tomorrow. Today is Friday. So this is just kind of a quick squeeze it in there thing. I'll be doing an update video soon too, and I will be taking photos of the babies that were born this morning, and we will see how it goes. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope this was helpful when setting up your own rabbitry, and I'll see you guys in the next video. God bless.